Greetings, class. In this video, we're going to prepare for your first draft submission of the pavilion. I am missing some walls, and after I talk a little bit more about what I want to see in the first submission, I'll go back and draw those walls. To begin, though, in short, what I want to see is a floor plan and 3 sections. And I'm going to prepare that first, and then I'll go back to the walls. And you do know how to put in storefronts already, so you could or don't have to watch that part of the video. So I'm going to start first with preparing the sections. So you do recall that I cut a few sections through this floor plan already, and when we come over here to the property browser and we go to our sections, we can see them right here, section 1 and section 2. However, the section marks have disappeared, and that's a problem. So if we come back to our base plan, my original section marks are here, and I'm going to fine-tune those and bring those in and make this all look a little more tidy. So we shouldn't have these section tags extending any further than they really need to, and probably equal lengths at the top and the bottom. And when I click on this section, this dashed line, I'm going to bring that right back up to the tail of the section there, and the front right back down here. This dashed line that shows up is showing us how far the section looks. So it's cut through here and it extends this distance. So it is cutting into our roof here. So for all practical purposes, we probably can't tell that the pool area is not shown in this section, but just for good practice, we're going to pull that out and extend it so the entire pavilion would be shown. This, again, similar to the elevations that I was talking about in the last video, the elevation cameras, as I call them, they give you the opportunity to kind of reduce clutter. So if you had a very busy building or a very long building, maybe you'd want to cut the section through here and only extend it a certain distance so that something beyond the section wasn't kind of cluttering or confusing the issue. Again, for our simple pavilion, it's we're just going to extend these and show them fully. So I do want, what I want for the submission is 1 longitudinal section and 2 transverse sections. So a longitudinal section, by definition, goes with the long axis of the building. And this is the long axis in this direction. So this section is the longitudinal section. And I would like you to cut it through both pools. I should really be grabbing these. If I grab them, not really. So that is a longitudinal section right there. Okay. And then this is our transverse section. And that one is looking in that direction. I'm going to bring it back. I'd like it to cut through the small auxiliary building here and this pool. And then I'm going to add one more section. So I'm going to come right up here, add a section, and let's cut a section. Let's cut a section right through here. Right through the stairs, right through this building. I'm going to flip it and look in the other direction, and I'd like you to do the same, and then I'll extend it out. And then this section head should align with that section head. So I'm just going to drop that a little bit. And the section tails here should also align with each other. Good. Okay, so 3 sections. 1 longitudinal section through both pools, a transverse section looking east, a second transverse section through the stairs looking west. Okay, so here we are. That's in the base, and that is where I began to draw these sections. That's where I dropped in the first 2 sections, so that's why we see them here. And then interestingly, when we come here to the first floor plan, there are no section marks, and likewise when we come to our first floor plan, therefore there are no section marks as well. So what we have to do to repair that situation, jump back to the base, select, and again, this is a peculiar little thing about Revit, hiding its scales. All right, so this section mark, per the property box, is telling us that it's only going to show up at a scale of 1/8 of an inch or greater. So I am going to select that, and being that our plans were showing at 1/16 of an inch equals a foot. When we get to the paper space, I am that's why it's not showing. It's being dictated here that it only shows it at an eighth, but on our paper space it's only showing at a 16th. So I'm going to apply it there. I'm going to select this one, same situation at an eighth. So let's move that to a 16th, apply, and our longitudinal section, the same. Let's bring that to a 16th as well and apply. And now if we jump over to our finished floor plan, we have them. Okay, and let's jump over to our floor plan and see how that looks. So these are a little too big, so let's select the viewport and activate it, activate the view, and now we could fine tune and get everybody on the page. Now that is on top of our drawing tag, which does not look good, so we'll repair that. And let's bring this guy in. So we don't want anybody too close to the edges, and that looks decent to me. Okay, so then we could deactivate the view, and I could pick up this drawing tag. I might actually just activate that view one more time, bring these in a little bit more. Deactivate. And, oops, a little too much. And now that looks decent. I'm gonna activate one more time. So we want everything to be just nice, neat, and tidy. I'm going to move this right up to the middle of the door. And that looks pretty good. Get this one to the middle of the stairs. Actually, I'll get it right through that wall. I'm going to cheat it back so that we're capturing that wall. And this one looks good. Okay, deactivate the view. All right, so that looks pretty good, except for the fact that I'm missing some walls, but I will return to that. So then the printing part is easy. All we have to do is come up here and we just go to print, and then we will create our PDF, not Microsoft, Adobe PDF there. And that should do it. Let's print that. Take it to the desktop. Okay, and there is my pavilion. Let's open that up and make sure we like. So I think it looks decent. Okay, so we need walls, we need to populate these section marks, but otherwise I think we're good. Okay, so now let us create some more sheets and get the sections onto it. So when I created that third section, it showed up there. So now getting back to the sheets, I'm going to click on sheets and I'm going to create a new one here. So new sheet, 11 by 17, good, and there it is, and there it is unnamed. So we'll pick up with the A1, A2, A3 later when we actually get to the closer to the finished product. So this, I'm just going to do this as section sheet 1. Actually number, we could just call it number 1. Let's just call it number 1, and we'll just call it section sheet 1. So this is just a temporary kind of draft. So that's that, good. And one more sheet, new sheet, okay. And there it is. And let's call that 2, that's good. And we'll just call that section sheet 2. Okay, good. So section sheet 1, we'll put our longitudinal section on that. And let's just click and make sure. So this is not our longitudinal section. And here it is. Here's our longitudinal section. Let's just take a look at that. So here is our view box. You could open that up a little bit. So you can see here we are cutting off the ends of the building. All right, so I must have drawn a very big base, so we don't need such a large base, so I am going to allow that to get cut off. And here, And then here to repair these are always difficult, so I'm going to click on that piece right there. Click on the I'm going to click on the elevation tag to move these down. What I'm trying to get at, for instance, here, if I click on the pool one and then I see this little add elbow, and then I could break it right there. Once you could add that elbow, and they just get covered up on top of each other. So I couldn't see the finished floor one. That's why I was dancing around with the other one. So now I'm going to add an elbow there. And again, it still kind of gets cluttered. But then once I add that elbow, right there is the elbow. And then I could pick it up and I could bring it up. Okay. And I'll try to do the same with the base. There it is. And that looks better. Good. So I must have drawn a really big base. I'm going to swing back to my my base plan and see. Yeah, I drew an oversized base. So I'm going to get up, select that, edit the boundary. So this is just bigger than it needs to be. So I'm going to bring that in so that I could see the end of my drawing on my sheets. Okay, good. And then we'll give it the green light. Jump back to our section. I believe that was section 2. There's the end of my drawing finally. It's still actually a little too far. So I'm going to jump back one more time, edit the boundary. I'm going to bring that in quite a bit. Basically, we should have these section tags should be outside the drawing and not inside. So I'm going to cheat these in quite a bit. All right, I think that should do. Green back to here, and I could rename this now actually. Double, and we'll make that longitudinal. Missed an I there. Longitudinal. Okay. Make it longitudinal section. Okay, and then we will make this transverse section 1, and we'll make this transverse section 2. Okay, good. So let's jump back to our longitudinal section, make sure that looks okay. So here we are. So these guys, so what I was getting at was we don't want this on top of our drawing, and right now it's covering up right there. So when I select one of them right here, this lock is telling me that they're all locked in, and then I just grab that node and I could pull it down, and that looks a little bit better. So we're off the drawing and I could see all the text. That looks good. And on the other side, let's bring this box out. Good. And then select on this side and bring those lines in. So tidying things up, very important. Often the way they fall, it's often not too pretty. And then these guys likewise, we could bring them, so maybe I'll bring those right to the top of that box. That's good there. And let's get these to match. So same location there, good. And bring the tail up to the box. Good, so that looks better. Let's check out our second one. So this needs a little cleaning up as well. So we could select one of them. So I'm getting to that node right there, that empty, so drag the extents of the level, pull that out. I'm going to select my base one first, break the elbow, take it down, good. Same, good. And let's take this one up. So it's kind of a mess there. We can't see on top of it, but once you kind of have to get your cursor in there and just hover around and then find it, and then we just drag that one up. And I just do it by eye, but I try to get all these elbows breaking at about 45 degrees, so there's a nice consistency to it. And I could just pull this side out a little bit more, and that looks decent. Let's do the same with this guy as we did on the other, just up a little bit, up, and in onto the page. Good. Okay. And our final transverse section as well. Let's open up the box. Opening up the box really isn't necessary in that situation, but just like things to be neat. Bring this piece in. Take that one down, down, and up. Okay, looks good on that side. I'll just bring these in a little bit. This box only pertains to the drawing. Okay, and then I'll reevaluate the heights of these when we actually get them on this sheet. Okay, good. So those look decent where they are. Let's see what happens when we get to the sheet. So here are sheets, and let's see. I will go to our sheet 1, and I will put the longitudinal section on it. And there it is. And then we will again activate the view and drop it. So basically we always, there could be exceptions to the rule, but there will not be for our pavilion in terms of scale. So plan sections and elevation should always typically be the same scale. There's our section. Actually, I think we could fit all three of these sections. So that didn't work. Let's just reverse that. Actually, that's because I activated the view. That's the problem with that. Let's save our project always. So I shouldn't have activated it. To move it, I shouldn't have activated it. So deactivated. We could all get all these sections on one sheet actually. So let's just do that. So we could ignore section sheet 2. I'm just going to delete that. We don't actually even need it. Okay, so section 2. Let's get section 2 on the sheet. Good. And activate and scale and deactivate. Put him where he's going, and our final section onto the sheet. Activate 16th, deactivate, and move. Okay, so now we just have some straightening up to do. Okay, so again, we have to activate. Nope, sorry. Deactivate, select the viewport, bring the tail in, select the viewport, bring the tail in, and the same. Okay, we could activate the view and hide this bounding box actually. So let's hide in view element, and otherwise that's looking decent. Okay, deactivate. So I kind of do things systematically. I do everything. So I'm doing perhaps more activating and deactivating than is necessary. You can do everything at one shot, but and hide in view, deactivate, activate, and get rid of the box, and deactivate. And let's just stand back a little bit and see how it looks. So now that I've put them on the sheets, actually, now these section tags have all been populated. And they are telling us where these drawings exist. So sheet 1, drawing 1. So these two, this is drawing 1, sheet 1, drawing 1, sheet 1. So these two tags, elevation tags, are both referring to this sheet and this drawing. So this longitudinal section is cut through here, looking to the right, and here, looking to the left. Okay, and then here we have our two transverse sections. This one is in, so they're both the 1 and the 1, both refer to this sheet, and this is drawing 2, so this section refers to this section, and section 3 refers to this one, and this is the order they should be in, 1, 2, 3, in that order. So now we could pick up and move a little bit just for centering. So I shut off those boxes because they don't print, and all I really care about is the distance from the end of this marker to the end of the page. So whatever that is, that inch and change, I want it to be about the same on that side. And then this guy, I want him to be in line with that one. So everything should line up as much as reasonably possible. And that looks decent. These should be aligned with each other. This one's a little close to the edge on the right, so I'm going to move him in. And that looks decent to me. A little crowded here, but not too bad. And this ceiling here, this guy, these two are touching. I don't care for that. So I will activate, break the elbow, and bring that guy up. And deactivate. So it's important to kind of stand back and look. Okay, I think I'm going to do the same for these. I think it'll just look better if I'm consistent on that count. Break. And up. Deactivate. Let's just do the same for consistency. Consistency and neatness are very, very important. And I think that looks decent. Actually, this guy, let's move him a little to the left, and then he moves, so he has to come back to the right. And these are actually, these have now gotten onto the drawing a little bit, so I'm going to pull them off a little bit. So let's activate the view. So you can see it gets a little fussy. Pull him down a little bit more so we can see our base. That looks much better. So we want to see all of our text, and we want our text off the drawing. So again, we have that same problem right there. And the same there. And things often look different as you move from the actual model space to the paper space. So that all looks pretty good to me. All these section tags are about the same height. They're pretty well aligned with each other, top to bottom. The text is all clear. These two sections look like they're pretty well aligned top to bottom. So I think that looks good. So let's save, and let's print a PDF there. Okay, and let's take a quick look at the PDFs. So I printed this first one before I populated the section, so that's why these section marks are unpopulated with information. So we do not want to do that. So I reprinted it, and here's the finished product. Okay, so here's our longitudinal section telling us to go to sheet 1, drawing 1, and our two transverse sections also on sheet 1 and 1, drawing 2, and drawing 3. All right, besides missing a couple of walls, this looks decent, neat. Finished floor, 1/16 of an inch scale. So that looks good. Okay, and so what we will do, so A1, this will be our first drawing of the set, and we will go back, and for our finished product, we will probably not have the sheet as it is here. We will incorporate three-dimensional renderings, so this sheet 1 will probably be tossed, and we'll repopulate other sheets. So that's why I didn't get into A2, A3. This is just for a temporary submission. But again, everything looks nice and neat here. So that's what you're aiming for. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to bring up Revit, and I'm just going to do a little more drawing to just, I'm not going to go through everything, but just to show you quickly how I would get to the missing pieces. So let's jump back to our finished floor, and so we could see that some things are missing, but we need to get our drawing back. So let's come down here and unhide. Let's get that raster image selected, right click, unhide and view the element, turn off, and now it is back. So when we zoom in here to this area, so I drew this one for you, and I will continue on now just to quickly show you kind of how I would maneuver around and get this done relatively quickly. So we want to get back to our storefront pavilion that I created, and then we will start here. And actually first let's check finish floor to our bottom of ceiling, always important. Good. And we are drawing out here. And we'll come right across. And again, these window grids are set right on top of his floor grid, as we discussed in our introductory video. So we want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of glass, which means we will have 7 mullions. So we will come down here, that is our vertical grid, and we will turn that up to 7 and apply it. And what's very important here now is that this intersection is improved. So we could select, I have something selected, I have the image selected that I don't want. So select the wall and just cheat that over a little bit so it aligns with that mullion. And then I could cheat that up. That looks decent. Okay, then we would have to bring our door in here, so we would take out that mullion, and then so for floor plan I would also add these. So this is a generic wall, so let's change that. Let's make that yeah, so they do show glazing in here. It is a bathroom, which is odd, but it's probably frosted or something to that effect. So we could just go back to there. Switching element types, curtain wall inserts elements will be deleted. That's okay with me. And then we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of glazing, which should have four mullions, which is what we have actually, and they fall relatively close to our JPEG that's below. So that looks decent. And I would put this wall in as well. Architecture wall, good. So this detail is unclear to us exactly how that's working. So we're just going to have to kind of live with it. It's very much. So now, basically, when these walls, you wouldn't have this crashing into a piece of glass like that. So based on this JPEG, I can't determine what exactly the situation is. So we're going to accept that for what it is. It's not pretty, but we will live with it as is. This wall, we could put that wall in as well. So now we have 4 pieces of glass, which means we should have 3 mullions, and it's coming in with 4. So let's reduce that one. And now this is done properly, so we should see, and then you'll have to change out some doors here. So the fitting's a little odd, but we'll have to make do. We just don't have enough detail for what's happening inside this building here, so we're not going to get particularly fussy about it. And let's add this one here, so we could just start right there in the middle and pull 2. And they put in a lot of mullions, which we definitely don't want. Let's select that wall and drop this down to just 1. So we would have to unpin and delete that guy. Unpin. So we would have to cut a section to see what's going on in here. There we go. So I had to delete a couple of pieces there. Oh, I think that's because we have them stacked so many. So I didn't address that issue. So the verticals, I mean the horizontals, so they're all coming in with 4, and we know that we want 0 actually. And we talked about last time how to deal with that. How we have to go in and reduce those. So we have 1 vertical, and we want these all down to 0. We'd have to cut a section to get in there and do that so that we could see clearly what's happening. But we know we want all of these. These are all pieces of glass top to bottom. All right, so that's how that would work. And then let's just jump into 3D. So we could do all of that, and then here I would start hiding elements. Hide. So these are floors. So if they were roofs, I would probably just hide them all, but I don't want to hide all the floors, so I'm just going to hide them piece by piece. And now here, this is what I was referring to, are these vertical elements that we know we don't want so many of them. So we could select and reduce down to 1. No, I'm sorry, that was the wrong direction. We want to take care of the horizontal grid, which is at 4. That's better. And then we will select, delete, and get rid of. So better. And then we have to replace this one with a door. So get right through that window actually and do the same here. Spin a little bit here and do the same. Delete and delete. Okay, so that's, and then there's one more in there. I don't know if I could reach through all of this stuff and get to it now. Probably not. Let's see. There it is. Delete, get to the grid line. There it is. Unpin and delete. And good. Okay. And you should get the doors in there. And then we would have to get over here as well. So let's just jump right back to our finished floor plan. And this is going to be pretty much the same drill. So wall, storefront. And so I'm just counting the grid. Pieces of glass. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if we select, that means we want to have 9 verticals, and we have 4. Actually, I would have to check this against a photograph to be certain. I think this looks good though. I think I see behind this, I could see all those vertical mullions, so I think that looks decent. These fall right on the grid line, so you will draw 2 more. I would start right here. So let's just do that quickly. So just actually before I do that quickly, let's just come back. So we have our vertical is set. Let's reduce this to 1. So we have to go back and bring it down to 0. Wall, wall. And again, here I would just start. So, we're kind of leaving the JPEG behind. Again, like I said, probably on day 1, if it was a CAD drawing, we could snap to it. But here we have a JPEG. So we have nothing to snap to. So that's why I'm snapping to my drawing. All right. Once the JPEG gets turned off, it's less important. It's not really important at all, as long as we are kind of capturing the general intent here. So we would have to, I think this might be one large piece of glass actually. We'd have to go look at a photograph of that to see how many vertical mullions we have. It might just be one large sheet actually. So I'm going to let you investigate and see how many vertical mullions. I think it's just 1. That's what I see right there. So I'm going to take a chance while I'm here, and then I'll just confirm by looking at photographs later. So we are at 4, and I think we just want to get down to 1. And that's what it looks like right there. I see the JPEG behind. There's just 1 there. And then again, our horizontals will be brought down to 0. All right. And that is that. This wall is in place, and that should be about it. We'll need a wall here, and that would be one large piece. I think I did this already. Yes, I did that on day one, or an earlier video. Okay, so that was kind of quick, but just to kind of show you how it would need to, we would need to look carefully and make sure everything is kind of nice and tidy. But that's kind of how you could quickly move along and get all these pieces into place. And then we could always check it in 3 dimensions. We could hide roofs to confirm, and ultimately in section. So we know we have to get rid of all these vertical mullions or horizontal mullions as well. I'm just going to bring up those sections one more time right here. So what I'm looking for in particular, as I did that really quickly, and in danger of being messy, so I'd have to look closely to be certain that it's all kind of nice and neat and tidy. But when I cut these sections, what I'm looking for in particular is to make sure that when I zoom in, for instance, on this section, I want to make sure that this wall, this was our base wall, and this is a piece of our floor, right? So right here we're cut through the pool, and so this is our pool. Here's our floor, and then we step down to our pool. So I want to make sure these are nicely aligned. In real life, it would never be built that way. There's more to it behind the scenes or underneath here, but for our purposes, we just kind of care what it looks like from the top. But for craftsmanship and kind of drawing neatly, I want to make sure that these lines are nicely aligned. And when I come down here, so now right here, my cursor's in the pool, and then this is the other piece of the floor right there, that piece. So this is wall, floor, and wall, and I want to make sure everything is nicely aligned right there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be looking for when I look at your sections. And then we come down here, and again, the floor ends and it goes right down into the pool. The pool ends right there at the wall. So it's wall, piece of floor, and wall again. All right, you see the same thing here, right here. So this wall comes right up and meets that floor nice and neatly. Nothing is overhanging, okay? Nicely aligned right there, aligned right there. And the same here. Everything's nicely aligned. Okay? So that is generally what it should look like. Generally neat. Okay. Thank you and good luck.